Bienvenidos, Fright fans, and welcome to the horror show. I am Jaime En Fuego, here to present a special encore presentation that originally in 2015 was seen on my then YouTube channel, Jaime En Fuego, which was for a program called ENFUEGOTAINMENT that is in the process of a relaunch. But we thought that for the month of October, the best thing that we could do was bring the entire series coverage of the 1980s and 90s Tales from the Crypt HBO television show over to the horror show, show it to a larger audience so that they can appreciate all of the hard work. Man, did I bust my ass for that month or so, getting every single one of the 93 episodes done and reviewed and spoken about. We did a little of my little trope at the time, which was Bueno, Malo, Feo, which is a good episode, a bad episode, and an ugly episode. I am taking these 3 at a time, and then also a special 3-episode final edition covering all 3 of the films. Yes, there are in fact 3 films. So join me here as we jump into a little bit of a horrific relic that I am very proud to show all of you guys. So until next time, stay scared. Bienvenidos, my fans of all things frightastic. This is Jaime En Fuego. You are on ENFUEGOTAINMENT, where I cover the hottest entertainment with an edge, and I am still in the midst of my October Spooktacular! That's right, and what that entails is my complete coverage of Tales from the Crypt. That's right, the entire series, no less. And this series had 93 episodes in it, which, if you think 3 episodes a day through the entire month of October, yeah, it kind of adds up perfectly mathematically. And so I thought, what better way to celebrate the month of Halloween than by doing this for one of my absolute favorite shows of all time, the HBO juggernaut that lasted 7 seasons. And I am pretty much smack dab right in the middle at this point for the 14th segment. We are in season 4. And the series, as I mentioned in our previous installment, has started out hitting on all cylinders. And this first episode that we're going to be discussing for the Bueno, the Malo, and the Feo, the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's basically the way that I do this type of coverage on my channel here. And the good episode is entitled Seance, and it was directed by Mr. Gary Fleder, who most people will remember from his debut, Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead, which, was heralded. It starred Andy Garcia, had kind of a little bit of a noir aspect to it, film noir. And this episode of Tales from the Crypt is no different in that aspect. It's definitely a period piece, like 40s, 50s era con men, well actually a con man and a con woman to be specific in this instance. It's Kathy Moriarty, who everybody remembers from her role in Scorsese's Raging Bull. She had pretty much every type of Best Actress nomination you can think of in that, or maybe it was Best Supporting, but yeah, she was nominated for her acting, everything from an Oscar to Golden Globes. I mean, yeah, right across the board, tremendous effort, and she is actually nominated for and winning a Cable Ace Award for her performance in this. And her co-con is played by Ben Cross, who everybody remembers from the much beloved and won so many bucket loads of Academy Awards, Chariots of Fire in the early 80s, where he was a Jewish runner, and really inspiring film, fantastically acted. So we've basically got 2 really high profile people in this, along with the director that is very capable and knows what they're doing. And then on top of that, it was actually written by Harry Anderson, who we saw just a few episodes ago, or a few segments ago, I should say, playing Mr. Corman in Corman's Calamity, where he was a Tales from the Crypt illustrator. He actually wrote this, and everybody knows him from, he was on Night Court, he was on Dave's World, I guess, but I always remember him, as Beep Beep Richie, yeah, from Stephen King's It. Such a great adaptation. So this noir, these 2 con men, they're basically trying to, well, con women, as I said, these 2 cons are basically trying to swindle this older guy through some blackmail for some money. And things don't go the way they had planned, and then in turn, when they try to alter their plans, things don't go the way they planned, even in that respect. So there's a lot of cool twists and turns, and it was actually first appeared in the Vault of Horror number 25, so you can imagine, what sort of, forces may be at work here. It's a non-spoiler review, so I'm not going to really reveal too much, but yeah, a couple cons, and they're doing some seedy stuff, and But yeah, it's a very great episode, wonderfully acted, and there's a payoff that I personally was not expecting. So yeah, let's just leave it at that and jump into our MALO episode. Yeah, check it out. Take a good look at, take a good gander at the MALO here. And this one originally appeared in Crime Suspense Stories number 23. And as far as MALOs go, this is another one that I cannot just say is absolute garbage, you know. It was actually very well acted by Dylan McDermott. This was his first television role. He'd done some film before this, so he had done like Hamburger Hill, and he was in a smaller role in Steel Magnolias, but this is where he was really just kind of showing what he could do on television, because everybody knows he went on to do The Practice and win tons of awards for that. We're talking Emmys and Golden Globes, and even most recently, everybody saw him in the first 2 seasons of American Horror Story. He was great on that too, so yeah, he's a heck of an actor. And he actually is the one bueno in this MALO episode. The MALO is the fact that the story is just kind of boring, kind of bland. He is, Mr. McDermott, that is playing a guy who's kind of pulling the strings and assisting with these 2 doctors who are trying to develop some, you know, new, almost like a viral thing that they're trying to study. And we can't really divulge what happens, but there's a medical mishap that transpires, and McDermott's got this history with one of the doctors, played by Sofia Braga, and she was most notably seen in The Kiss of the Spider-Woman. That's the one that really put her on the map, which also had like William Hurt and Raul Julia and lots of great talent. So she does a good job as well, but it's the story that really brings this one down to the MALO territory. It's not that good. The directing's not bad though. It's actually done by a Brooklyn guy named Robert Longo, who was most noted for, you know, he's being like a painter and a sculptor and doing a series of stuff in the 80s that everybody was really impressed by, a series of paintings. And he kind of decided to segue into music videos and filmmaking eventually. So he did like music videos for REM and for New Order and even Megadeth, which is kind of crazy. And then after directing this episode of Tales from the Crypt, he actually did the cyberpunk flick with Dolph Lundgren and Mr. Neo, that's right. Yeah, Keanu Reeves. Yeah, Keanu. Yeah, but which is actually a pretty damn good movie. Not amazing, but Dina Meyer's also in that. Whoo boy, swing swing, what a babe. So yeah, but at the end of the day, it's really the story and the twist that make this one really just boring, not that exciting. And so, but yeah, not a bad episode. And in this instance, I will say it's worth watching. I cannot completely condemn it. Not the most highly recommended episode. It was called This'll Kill Ya, and yeah, you know, kind of forgettable at least in the grand scheme, but not an absolutely awful Tales from the Crypt episode. So now it's time to segue into the ugly, the feo, man, and at least that's what I call it here on ENFUEGOTAINMENT. And this is one that was actually neck and neck with Seance to be the bueno episode. I wasn't sure which was going to be which. This one appealed to me for the sheer fact that it's another episode about rock metal type guys, you know, in the late 80s, early 90s, and it actually had some serious star power behind it. It's called On a Dead Man's Chest, and it was directed by Mr. William Friedkin. Yeah, that's right, the guy who won Best Director for The French Connection. He most notably did The Exorcist and was again nominated for Best Director for that. And yeah, a film of his that I think often goes under the radar is one that he did with Ashley Judd and the amazing Michael Shannon called Bug. If you guys haven't seen that movie, definitely got to check that out. But this one, it's got the whole rock thing going on. You've got a small role played by Tia Carrere. You've also got Ms. Sherry Rose, who shows up on another Tales from the Crypt episode later on in 1994, and then also shows up in the first theatrical Tales from the Crypt film, Demon Knight. So yeah, she has kind of a history with Tales from the Crypt. This is where she first got on there, but the guy who's leading the proceedings, the guy who is pushing everything forward here, his name is Yul Vasquez, and he was kind of fit for this role because he was originally in bands. So he was in a band called Urgent and also in a band called Diving for Pearls, both of which had some like Billboard, like not like huge hits, but minor hits. And you know, they did some touring, they were on MTV, and so the guy was a rocker before he decided to get into acting. So he's kind of perfect for this. There's also some other music cameos. You got Heavy D in there. You've also got Greg Allman as like a manager, promoter type guy. So, but what this is really all about is the guy wants to get a tattoo. He sees that this girl, that played by Sherry Rose, has this awesome tattoo, and it's right on her very, very lovely chesticle. And that's one thing I gotta say about this episode that's definitely ugly or feo. There's some of the most ugly, like, feo graphic sex of any episode of Tales from the Crypt that I've seen on here. The sex is graphic, and it's not like throughout the entire thing, but when you see it, yeah, I'm like, man, this is TV? Well, I guess it was pay TV, and that's what people on HBO wanted, was that kind of thing. So, I don't know, and but the acting isn't bad. It's not Feo, that's for sure. It's just the ugliness of the concept and what ends up transpiring, the ugliness of the graphic, you know, sex and nudity that's in it. That might not appeal to some people. It did to me, but, you know, it did kind of take away from the story a little bit. The guy wants to get a tattoo, and he is sent by Sherry Rose to this very mysterious tattoo artist played by Heavy D, and the guy is like supposed to be able to see, you know, what's supposed to be on your canvas. So he's almost like a medium slash tattoo artist. I don't know. It's kind of a Feo concept in that aspect, but, you know, when the payoff does come and some, you know, negative things start to go down, interband conflict, there's some Yoko allegations going on at one point, and so, I mean, these are tropes, these are cliches that we've seen in different stories about bands and in different Tales from the Crypt episodes, but, you know, it's not that ugly. It's really ugly in the climax and in some of the other things I mentioned, like the boobery and the sexo and whatnot. So, but yeah, it's an episode about rock, and it almost became the bueno today. So, there you have it, amigos. This was the 14th installment, so almost halfway there here for our 31 Days of Tales from the Crypt, and I've been Jaime En Fuego. I cannot recommend this show enough. Check it out on either Amazon or iTunes, or just seek out some of those DVDs floating around in your used entertainment stores like Azia Records here in Phoenix, where I'm based. But I've been Jaime En Fuego. You can find me on all social media sectors just at Jaime En Fuego, just as you're seeing it spelled below there. And also make sure to check out thehorrorshowchannel.com, what you're seeing below right now as well. That's where I do all my spooktacular coverage when I'm not here on Enfuegotainment. So I look forward to mañana when we get to discuss Tales from the Crypt just a little bit more, and I look forward to seeing all of you then, Cinemigos. Adios.